Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
The Ohio Department of Health says out of all drug overdoses in 2016, 86% of them were a result of opioids. Good evening, I'm Jacob Solother. Thanks for joining us. Recent research suggests that the opioid crisis is having an impact on life expectancy in the U.S. Data from the National Vital Statistics System mortality file show that drug poisoning deaths from opioids have more than tripled between the years 2000 and 2015. The American Medical Association concluded nearly a quarter of opioid-involved deaths don't list the specific drug involved. Now, many attorney generals across the country are ready to take the legal steps that Ohio and West Virginia are taking.
Prescription opioids are the on-ramp to addiction for millions of Americans. It is vital that we understand exactly how opioid manufacturers and distributors are marketing and selling their products and what steps we can take to better protect people.
Back in May, Ohio's Attorney General filed a lawsuit against pharmaceutical companies. Attorneys in West Virginia did the same on behalf of 2 counties in March. Now, a city here in Ohio is filing a lawsuit in response to the opioid epidemic. Officials in Elyria say emergency responses related to the crisis are costing the city more than $1 million. They say some drug companies are partly to blame. Joe Paganaskis reports.
Could see the exponential negative effects of the opioid epidemic.
Elyria Mayor Holly Brenda says safety force response to heroin overdoses have nearly tripled over the past 18 months, likely costing her city more than $1 million in unanticipated expenses in 2016 alone.
We had 2,230 emergency medical responses, and a large part of those were responses to drug abuse.
The Elyria lawsuit, similar to the one filed by the city of Lorain in June, would seek damages against the major drug companies. Companies Mayor Brenda believes inappropriately promoted the use of opiates, underselling their addictive qualities.
It largely does go back, at least in part, to the drug companies.
These doctors have stopped overprescribing.
Nancy Krashenko agrees the drug companies need to be held accountable. Krashenko, who lost her 30-year-old daughter Megan Wheeler to a heroin overdose in 2015, believes the drug companies need to compensate cities, especially here in Ohio.
If I would have knew this was going to be the end of my daughter's life by taking those Vicodins, I would have grabbed them from her and said, no, we're going to go another route.
We're the ones out there seeing it every day.
Life Care, which provides EMS services to Elyria, has seen its number of emergency runs triple in the last 2 years. It understands why cities are seeking damages.
I don't think it's surprising. They're looking at ways they can help themselves.
This unintentional consequence is literally costing lives every day.
One drug company, Purdue Pharma, is already asking a judge to dismiss lawsuits filed by cities in Ohio. It says it hasn't done anything illegal that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration require for its product preempt Ohio law. Athens County Commissioners are repealing a waiver that would allow Oxford Coal to mine within a buffer zone next to Johnson Road in Trimble Township. This comes after Oxford failed to provide all the information needed for the county's insurance of a flood hazard area development permit. The vote at yesterday's meeting was unanimous and drew applause from the audience members opposed to the waiver and the mine. The Athens community disagrees on City Council's proposal for a pedestrian tunnel beneath Richland Avenue. The tunnel is part of a plan to make the heavily traveled intersection safer. However, some community members tell WOUB via Facebook the intersection is already safe enough and that students aren't responsibly crossing the intersection. Some say an underpass would create an issue of safety at night, but Mayor Steve Patterson disagrees.
Lighting with the size of this, will really lend itself to not being, again, a dark, scary space for people to walk through.
Some residents say money is another issue. Improvements are projected to cost more than $1 million. For the first time in Beacon School's history, all 3 of its playgrounds will be accessible to all students. The upgraded playgrounds are now accessible to students in wheelchairs. New additions include a rubberized surface, shade structures to keep students cool, a new slide, a gliding seesaw, and adaptive swings. Total cost for new equipment, resurfacing, work, and labor reached nearly $250,000.
Good evening, I'm Taylor Nimmo. We had a warmer day here in Athens, 78 degrees right now, dew point 64 degrees. You're probably feeling that humidity. Looking at the next couple of hours, 7 o'clock, it's looking pretty perfect if you're having a late dinner tonight. When we get to 8, the temperatures are going to slowly drop, 73 at 9. As high pressures move in, we're going to experience some above average temperatures with that next couple of days. Patchy fog overnight, but good news, tomorrow we'll be seeing some more sun, and we'll have more on that later. Back to you, Jacob.
Thanks, Taylor. Two cases of Legionnaire's disease have been found in Columbus with connection to Ohio State University. Columbus Public Health says the cases are not connected. Students were not notified by the university of the incident because it's not considered an outbreak. An Ohio committee approved a law that will lessen the penalty for people who do not inform police they have a weapon when they are arrested. The proposal would reduce the penalty from a misdemeanor that carries up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine to only a $25 fine. Gun right activists feel the penalty should be taken away altogether, and lawmakers yesterday also introduced a stand your ground proposal, though many law enforcement groups oppose the idea. Enrollment at Ohio University is down nearly 1.5% compared to last year's total attendance. Attendance numbers officially fell to 35,877 compared to last year's 36,867. This year's incoming freshman class showed a slight decrease. The 2017 class is 6.1% smaller than last year's freshman class. Ohio University President Dwayne Nellis has been in office for 100 days since his tenure started on June 12th. Nellis has made noise by releasing a statement disapproving President Trump's decision to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, appointing David DeScutner as interim executive vice president, and signing a national declaration to continue meeting the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Kroger is trying to help its national fight against hunger. Chief Executive Rodney McMullen says food in Kroger stores should not be going to waste. The company pitched a zero hunger, zero waste plan, which will target the communities with hunger problems. The goal is to end hunger and eliminate waste by 2025. Coming up, the death toll from an earthquake in Mexico is now in the triple digits and buildings are in ruins. Hear from witnesses next. The natural disasters never seem to stop. Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico today, leaving the island without power. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
Hey everybody, I'm Gridiron Glory host Joseph Payton. Every Friday night live at 11:30, we will have a jam-packed show for you with everything that went down on the local gridiron that night. From every touchdown pass to every crushing hit, Gridiron Glory is your #1 source for all things Southeast Ohio football. So please be sure to tune into our show and also follow us on Twitter and Snapchat at Gridiron Glory, and of course like us on Facebook. I promise you won't want to miss out, because remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
Rescue operations continue in central Mexico after a powerful earthquake leveled homes and killed at least 225 people. This is the second deadly earthquake to hit Mexico in the last 2 weeks, Stacy Cohen reports.
A rare image of hope amidst a mountain of despair. At least 225 are known dead and others remain trapped or missing following a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that hit heavily populated sections of central Mexico Tuesday. Witnesses describe watching their surroundings crumble.
Basic instinct was just grabbing everything and heading out to the streets, making sure we were away from trees and electricity cable.
We just pretty much try to be next to a wall and just try to stand still until it was over. But it was terrifying.
This is the second major earthquake to hit Mexico in the past 2 weeks. President Enrique Peña Nieto is calling it a new national emergency.
Unfortunately, several people have lost their lives, including girls and boys in educational centers and buildings and households.
The country has declared 3 days of mourning, but life and death work leaves little time for grief. Amidst the chaos, there are raised fists commanding silence as rescuers listen for signs of life. Puños arriba, or raised fists, is now trending on social media, not only as a sign of silence, but also of solidarity for a nation shattered by nature. I'm Stacey Cohan reporting.
It's been exactly 32 years since Mexico's deadliest earthquake, which killed more than 5,000 people in 1985. And as we speak, Hurricane Maria is battering Puerto Rico. The governor of Puerto Rico says he's concerned about flooding, power outages, and the potential for loss of life. Stacey Cohan has the latest details.
This is what 150 miles per hour winds look like. Hurricane Maria is barreling through Puerto Rico, where it made landfall as a Category 4 storm. 2/3 of the island are experiencing hurricane-force winds.
There's a lot of flooding, there's a lot of infrastructure damage, but the only thing that should matter right now is that people stay safe, that we can save life, and then we'll start the rebuilding.
Only about 11,000 of Puerto Rico's more than 3 million residents are in hurricane shelters. Calls for rescue began almost immediately after the storm hit Wednesday morning, but first responders are unable to reach potential victims until the winds subside. Even the National Weather Service is feeling its force as fierce winds destroyed 2 of their radars on the island, and the worst may be yet to come.
Yes, we will feel the brunt of it for the next 12 hours, but afterwards we're going to get a lot of rain, and maybe people might have a sense that they have gone through the worst part of it, but as we know with hurricanes, it's the flooding, it's the heavy rains that tend to be the #1 cause of death.
Flooding for residents in low-lying areas could bring extensive damage to homes and buildings. The true extent of Maria's impact, both in Puerto Rico and other islands in the Caribbean, won't be known until the storm finally passes. I'm Stacey Cohan reporting.
The National Hurricane Center says Maria is now weakened to a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 110 miles per hour. But hurricane force gusts topping 74 miles per hour still extend over much of Puerto Rico. The United States pledged to give $32 million in aid to Rohingya Muslims on Wednesday. Rohingya Muslims are a minority in Myanmar that have faced discrimination and backlash from the military and government for years. More than 400,000 Rohingya have left the country for Bangladesh since August 25th. The aid money from the U.S. will contribute to food, medical care, water, and shelter for refugees. Why were Ohio University students rappelling off a wall today? We'll tell you about it. That story's still ahead.
Looking for things to warm up even more throughout the next few days, but good news, we'll be seeing plenty of sunshine. We'll have more for you on the 7-day update, but first, here's a look at stocks of local interest.
professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open. You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous. Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, "This is it." And she said, "The tour's just started." I said, "No, you don't understand. This is it."
Hey everybody, I'm Gridiron Glory host Joseph Payton. Every Friday night, live at 11:30, we will have a jam-packed show for you with everything that went down on the local gridiron that night. From every touchdown pass to every crushing hit, Gridiron Glory is your #1 source for all things Southeast Ohio football. So please be sure to tune into our show and also follow us on Twitter and Snapchat at Gridiron Glory, and of course like us on Facebook. I promise you won't want to miss out, because remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Good evening, I'm Taylor Nimmo. We sure had a warm one here today in Athens. Let's take a look at the temperatures all around the region right now. We are mostly in the upper 70s and lower 80s all around the region. We've got 77 in Cambridge, 80 in Newark, 81 Columbus, 80 in Jackson, 82 Ironton. So basically all around the upper 70s and lower 80s right now around the region. Today, the high of 81, low of 60, just a little bit higher than the typical for today. But in 1954-92, record 1959, low of 38. We'll take a look at right now, tonight, partly cloudy, 64 degrees. We will get a little bit of fog later on tonight, and that's because of the high pressure moving in. But nothing too crazy tonight, no rain, but we will see some clouds. And our overnight lows tonight will be hitting the 60s. That will feel nice after a day of hitting the upper 80s. 64 in Athens, 66 in Chillicothe, 67 in Columbus, 67 Jackson, 67 Ironton. Now here's a look at this high pressure that's going to be coming in. This is what's going to bring, throughout the next couple of days, much higher temperatures than we're used to seeing at this time of year. It'll also bring some humidity, so that's what we're going to be seeing throughout the next couple of days here. And also tomorrow morning, it's going to feel nice and crisp in the morning. We're going to see some sunshine. Make sure you wear those shorts and pack your shades. We're seeing that sunshine finally after a couple days of cloudy. It's going to be a little bit of fog in the early morning when you're taking the kids to the bus stop, but it will get sunny throughout the day. Tomorrow, as we look into the morning, it's going to be 65 at 8 a.m., 76 around noon, and it's just going to progressively keep getting higher throughout the day. We're going to hit the 80s around 4 p.m. It'll be around 83 degrees. And tomorrow, we're going to have partly cloudy skies, above average temperatures. We are going to be seeing a lot higher temperatures than we're typically seeing at this time of year, but it's going to be pretty mild other than that. Temperatures, tomorrow's highs, we'll be seeing 87 in Columbus. Chillicothe, we're going to be seeing 87. Jackson, 87. Ripley, 85. Very warm, fantastic evening on Saturday. Your weekend is looking great, but it will be a little bit hot, 88 degrees during the day on Saturday, but at least we're getting that sunshine if we are going to have those really high temperatures. But on Sunday, we're going to be back up at 86 and also sun on Sunday. As we take a look at the extended forecast on tomorrow, high of 84, 87 on Friday, and it's sunny weekend, but as we move into the beginning of next week, we will see a little bit of chance of rain, but that's about all for weather.
Thanks, Taylor. And on this beautiful day, students and faculty members got a chance to rappel from Lindley Hall. It's part of Ohio University's Army ROTC's Rappelling Day. Cadets in the Bobcat Battalion led the way, rappelling off 3-story building. The ROTC says their annual rappel provides both an opportunity for cadets to train as well as connect with other OU students and members of the local community.
What really makes it fun is kind of just like the adrenaline rush you get when you do it. When I did it my first year, I was so nervous, but like now that it's kind of like an annual thing, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to rappel. It's so awesome.
Those who are interested in joining ROTC can head to their website.
Maggie Shandrick here. Coming up, an area boys soccer team still holds an undefeated record, and the Indians are still holding on to the #1 spot in the American League. That and more after the break. Stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
I'm Gridiron Glory host Joseph Payton. Every Friday night live at 11:30, we will have a jam-packed show for you with everything that went down on the local gridiron that night. From every touchdown pass to every crushing hit, Gridiron Glory is your #1 source for all things Southeast Ohio football. So please be sure to tune into our show and also follow us on Twitter and Snapchat at Gridiron Glory, and of course like us on Facebook. I promise you won't want to miss out, because remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Ohio University students really have a huge sense of pride in our campus, in our school, and in our education.
People don't come to Ohio just to go to college. They come here to become a Bobcat.
It's a really unique atmosphere.
Bobcat pride is having that natural camaraderie.
Bobcats are just happy to be Bobcats.
My favorite time of year at Ohio has to be homecoming.
When the alumni come back, you can see that the love of this university doesn't fade.
Once you're a Bobcat, you're always a Bobcat.
My professors really care. They care about my grades, they care about my opportunities, they care about my experiences, they want me to succeed.
They give those opportunities to the students.
My professors have been extremely approachable.
Literally, their door is always open.
You can go to them with pretty much anything. Everyone knows your first and your last name and where you sit in the classroom.
I really never feel like I'm being talked down to or just being taught material. I always feel like I'm having a conversation.
And they want to share those opportunities and those experiences with us.
I knew that I wanted to come to Ohio University from the very first time I visited here.
There's something about the campus that grabs you.
It was really comforting.
Very welcoming.
It's one thing to write down your name and your GPA and that kind of stuff and send it in. It's another thing entirely to be here and see how great it is.
The campus here is just electric.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Everything just looked really college-like.
I looked at my mom and I said, this is it. And she said, the tour's just started. I said, no, you don't understand. This is it.
Welcome back. I'm Maggie Shandrick. The Alexander boys soccer team have started their season hot and are currently riding a 9-0 record. Last night, the Spartans hosted Athens and already found themselves on the scoreboard on a goal just 61 seconds into the game. Sophomore Todd Norris connected with older brother Michael Norris for a quick 1-0 lead. This was Michael's 78th goal of his career, extending the school record he currently holds. The Spartans won the game 2-0 and get to keep the Rivalries Challenge Cup in their hands for the second straight year. Staying on the field, 2 high schools in Washington, D.C. have implemented artificial turf on sports fields, and now parents are worried about possible health risks.
And then also show me.
At times, things got heated.
You've determined this field is safe. That is outrageous to me. What happens 5, 7, 10 years down the road?
Oyster Adams bilingual school parents are worried about fields at both the school's campuses. One rubber turf field is already in place, another is coming.
Maybe there will be no harmful effects. Maybe there won't be. But if there's a possibility that there is, why take that risk?
Parents are worried about reports of links between crumb rubber artificial turf and injuries, concussions, bacteria, even cancer and early puberty.
Yeah, sure, there are studies that prove that it's fine, but as we heard, those studies are funded by the industries.
Through the most rigorous testing standards.
Engineer Ryan Teeter with LDD Sports was hired by the city. He says turf being put down in D.C. has gone through a strict test created for toys children could swallow. He says it isn't just the industry testing its products,
but also outside agencies to make sure that it isn't something that's being handled directly by somebody that is pushing one of the materials.
Teeter says that artificial turf has many advantages over grass, but many parents are still concerned for their children's safety. Now on to Ohio sports. The wrestling team has released their 2017-18 schedule. This schedule includes 6 home duels and 4 regular season tournaments. They open their season November 5th at the Southeast Open in Roanoke, Virginia, and conference play will begin December 5th against Buffalo. The Bobcats return all 3 wrestlers who qualified for the NCAA championships last season. Now heading into professional sports, the Cincinnati Reds lost a tough one in extra innings last night to the St. Louis Cardinals 8-7. Cardinals center fielder Dexter Fowler hit a solo home run in the 8th inning and RBI double in the 10th to seal the victory for the Cardinals. Reds starting pitcher retired the first 10 batters of the game, but then gave up 5 runs on 5 straight hits. Tonight, the two teams will face off again at 7:10 at Great American Ballpark. Now heading up to Cleveland, where the Indians keep rolling and beat the Angels 6-3 last night for their 25th victory in 26 games. The bats are hotter than ever as Jay Bruce had a triple and double, Austin Jackson singled 4 times, and Roberto Perez added a solo home run. The Indians have already clinched the American League Central Division and are now chasing after the LA Dodgers for the best record in the majors. I'm Maggie Shandrick, and that's it for sports this evening. Back to you, Jacob.
Thanks, Maggie. One class at Cedar Heights Elementary in Iowa is learning about how to take care of an animal while teaching it at the same time. Kindergartners in Merritt Basner's class are training this black lab to be a service dog. They're teaching him how to sit and turn on and off the lights. Victor is the 3rd service dog that the teacher has brought to her classroom. She says this is a way she can educate students and the general public about service dogs.
I'm Taylor Nimmo. Now let's take a quick look at your weekend ahead. So on Saturday, we're going to be seeing some very high temperatures, 88 degrees on Saturday. It'll be very warm, but in the evening, it's going to go down and drop to about 81 degrees in the evening. So that'll be nice if you have anything going on. If you want to get outside, it'll be a lot nicer. But Sunday, we're going to go back up to 86 degrees. Sunshine, though, and above average temperatures as we're going to see throughout the rest of the week. And as we look at our extended forecast, tomorrow and Friday, we're seeing about high of 84 and 87, but Saturday and Sunday, perfect sunshine. And as we go into the rest of the week, we'll see some chances of rain in Tuesday and Wednesday, but we will be seeing those high temperatures. They're sticking around for a while, but that's all we've got for weather.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Jacob Solether. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next, and remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
everybody. I'm Gridiron Glory host Joseph Payton. Every Friday night, live at 11:30, we will have a jam-packed show for you with everything that went down on the local gridiron that night. From every touchdown pass to every crushing hit, Gridiron Glory is your #1 source for all things Southeast Ohio football. So please be sure to tune into our show and also follow us on Twitter and Snapchat at Gridiron Glory, and of course like us on Facebook. I promise you won't want to miss out, because remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.